Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
So it's official. Samsung will launch its Galaxy Note 10 on August 7th here in New York, confirming a earlier CNET scoop. The Note 10 is, it's obviously the supersized version of its flagship phone. It's not the volume seller, but it's definitely the ones that go after the diehard Samsung fans. Alfred, what do you want to see in the Note 10?
I really hope that along with this super phone that they're planning on detailing all its features on, that they do what they did with the Galaxy Note, the Galaxy S10, where they had the cheaper version of it.
Oh, yeah.
That would be super cool because I have wanted to use a lot of Note features for a while, but I've never wanted to pay that super high price for it.
Yeah.
If they did come out with a cheaper version of it like they did for the S10, would very much appreciate it. Still, I think it'd still be out of my budget, but I think the general idea is that would be pretty cool. I think, seeing the success of the Pixel 3a and how that's been working out for Google,
Yep.
I hope that kind of shifts the trend for them. I don't know how it did for the S10. What is it, the S10e? That's the cheaper one?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know how well that did for them, but I hope that it pushes them in that direction more.
You bring up a good point because the trend recently has been to go more expensive, and then Samsung kind of bucked it. Samsung and Google really bucked it with these cheaper alternatives. I don't know if we'll get a cheaper alternative to the Note just because it's always been known as the premium option for Samsung. But we'll see. At least from the leaked renderings we've seen, it looks like it's almost entirely all screen, whereas they had that little... Not the notch, the cutout, the cutout for the S10.
The hole punch.
This one looks like the hole punch. This one looks like a really tiny camera hole at the very top in the middle, a lot less distracting. So we'll see. We'll see if that's enough to justify folks, making that upgrade. Speaking of which, more Samsung news. Samsung's mobile CEO, DJ Ko, was in an interview recently and said that he called the Fold launch embarrassing and he apologized for rushing that product out to market. But we still didn't get any kind of inkling as to when this thing is actually going to show up.
I think it's going to take much longer than they expected, just based off of that statement. So when the issues first started arising, it was supposed to come out 2 weeks after that, or?
They kept saying a few weeks.
Yeah.
They were very vague about it. And they've kept saying a few weeks, and it's been...
And now it's just gone to silence on that, and, hey, that was a mistake to roll it out that early, right?
Right.
So I think it's going to be delayed much longer than we expected to be.
This is just damage control?
Or just all of it is damage control.
This is a coded message basically saying, hey, don't hold your breath for the Fold.
And it might be worse for them if, another company beats them to the punch. I mean, I know a lot of other companies have been looking into foldable phones.
Well, the Huawei Mate X is the other one. That also got delayed into the fall as well. Or got delayed into this sort of unknown time frame of in the coming weeks. So maybe Samsung saw what was happening with Huawei and said, well, maybe we should take a breather and really figure this out.
I mean, that's possible. I think the other route is perhaps Huawei also. I mean, they could have just not gotten the technology down for that. You used one, right? You had your hands on one. I mean, did it feel as smooth as you thought it would be? Or
it felt stiff, but it did feel okay. It didn't feel like it would break in my hands or anything, but it's... our Samsung Galaxy Fold didn't feel like it was going to break either, and so that I think the experience was varied depending on the reviewer.
Yeah, I mean they're just sending it back to the kitchen. It's not done yet.
Yeah, and the Huawei Mate X, by the way, the screens fold on the outside, and those are the plastic screens, so much more prone to scratching than the Fold. So, maybe it got pushed back for different reasons. But either way, there's just sort of a common belief now among the public that these phones may not be ready for prime time.
Yeah, and I think when they do release, they're going to be extremely skeptical of it even then. They were about to release it until all these journalists found these flaws with it.
Yep. All right, lastly, our own Laura Hatala looked into how investigators are using a database of DNA info to crack cold cases. They've been able to kind of piece together and match and identify suspects based on the relatives of people who had taken DNA tests like 23andMe, and freely submitted them to this shared database. It's fascinating, but also raises some privacy concerns, right?
Yeah, the biggest issue is that your DNA is now in a database just because one of your cousins or your sister or your brother decide, hey, I want to find out if I'm 5% white or not.
Right. No, that's not what it is, though. They do take the test to find out their race, but then they go and they voluntarily take this data and push it onto this database, which is used by
Yeah.
investigators.
And that like links to everyone up in your genetic tree, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's when once
super uncool.
Once they moved it to that public database, basically, yes, your data, whether or not you like it, is potentially there to be accessed.
A lot of police officers say that this is actually a really valuable resource. Her story details about how they were able to solve a lot of cold cases because of this.
Yep.
I think the most famous example would be the Golden State Killer. But I mean, it definitely raises these concerns about, hey, cool. So like my biological information is owned by a company and shared with all these random people that I never submitted this data for.
Definitely, and you should check out the story. It's a sort of powerful intro, since one of the cold cases that was solved was one that happened in her old hometown when she was a child. So fascinating piece. For more of these stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks as always, folks, for joining us for the recording of the audio podcast, which continues to be available on all these links down in the description: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, all over the place, Google Play. Feel free to subscribe there, share around with your friends, smash that like button, as Alfred would say.
I have never said that.
I bribed you to say it last week on the promo video that's going to get released tomorrow, so just putting that out
Well,
there.
that's not like me. That's like Alfred, the character for the Daily Charge.
That's true.
Play a character on that
Who
show.
says Smash all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers. All right.
Yeah, you could have just taken clips of him talking about Smash Brothers and just spliced it with "smash that button."
Deep fake Alfred talking
Yeah.
about Smash.
There you go.
I get myself in trouble there. So yeah, bear in mind, the show is going to go through a title change shortly, but it's basically going to stay the same show. We're going to put some more stuff under the hood, some more for you to watch, more for you to listen to, but still same time, same place, right here on the Daily Charge. It will be henceforth known as the Daily Charge. We don't have an official release date on that yet. We're still working on the graphics and stuff, but yeah, corporate said rebranding was a smart idea, so be on the lookout for that, and don't let it freak you out. In the meantime, we want to shout out to Jay from Jersey, Will Barry, Timothy Dew, Michael Brown, all of our old friends and new friends showing up here on the channel. It's time, as always, for us to take your comments and questions about the topics at hand today. Right out the gate, Yan says, I actually wanted to see the Galaxy Fold more than the Note 10, so let's go ahead and expand on that. Ooh. What do we want to see, and what do we think we're going to see?
I think most people wanted to see the Galaxy Fold over the Note 10.
The Fold is a wholly new phone. We have seen it in person before we had to send it back. I had a chance to play with it extensively. It's pretty damn impressive, right? All these foldable phones are impressive to look at. I don't know about long-term usability, but it is definitely it's a new category. It's a whole new device. Whereas the Note 10 is, it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
It's your annual
It'll
upgrade.
be faster. The camera will be better.
Yeah, it'll look a little bit nicer.
Maybe it won't have a headphone jack.
Maybe. We'll see.
It's just nothing like that exciting to tell your friends about,
exactly.
know?
You're not pulling out the Note 10, like, hey, check out this awesome new phone. Like, yeah, it's...
That being said, though, with the Fold, do you think of that, obviously it has this, appeal to it that it's new and it's, fresh, but did it ever feel like it was gimmicky while you were using any of these foldable phones where it's oh, this is really cool, I can turn it into a tablet, but you don't really see yourself using it on an everyday basis?
No, that's a great question. It definitely, there's a huge gimmick factor to it. There's the idea of being able to show it off to people is a huge, one of the big advantages. I didn't use it long enough to really see if I could turn that into my daily driver.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the daily act of taking out and unfolding it would just become a pain in the butt after a while, but because I don't know, it's different.
That was the thing. I was looking because I know when it was brought to the New York office for a day or two, I was looking at it and I had it in my hand and I just thought this will definitely get old within a month. This will not be the cool thing in a month.
Yeah, I mean it really depends on how Samsung really takes advantage of the screen. I know they've got they talked about multitasking and things like that, but I didn't really get a chance to get through the full experience of it. And so I know Jessica seemed to be pretty optimistic about the way it would be used eventually, but it really does come down to how developers and how Samsung and Google really make that bigger screen something you actually need.
And what's the deal with I know Lenovo's doing it with the foldable laptops, which I'm that's just a laptop, buddy. But
it's foldable.
Yeah, as laptops are.
But it's a continuous screen.
Whatever. It's a laptop. But yeah, it's not more compact. You just have more screen space. I guess is the argument that I'm making.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I see that, and I'm like, I don't know if they're further along just because they have more hardware to work with than a phone would have. Like, I don't
More
know if
space,
it's,
you
yeah,
mean?
if it's more surface area that it's less prone to breaking.
It could be. I mean, I think there are still issues with like the hinge mechanism. It depends on how the hinge
Yeah.
is designed, really. And I think the problems that Samsung are facing might be unique because of the unique design of that hinge. I think other companies like Huawei that push back. I think they have their own issues. I think just everyone is still kind of dealing with. They kind of put out this phone that could not theoretically, that does fold, but I don't know if they quite grasp the consequences of having that. Whether it's the hinge mechanism being prone to breaking, or the screen prone to scratching. I think there's still a lot of issues that they're all
Yeah.
still have to work out.
We ready for some comments and questions?
Do it.
All right, let's take one from Timothy. I think there needs to be some sort of IR on phones to make a comeback for universal remote controls for your home devices. That is a term we have not heard in a minute. Do we think that has
No.
any platform for a comeback?
They
No.
took them off. Like, I think a lot of Android phones used to have them.
HTC I remember had a long line of phones with IR blasters.
Because I know some security researchers that, as a joke, like if they were at like an Applebee's or something like that, if somebody had an old Android phone and like
like
Harry
turn off the
Potter, was
Yeah.
on TV or something, like we don't want to watch Harry Potter, and like they just grab their old Android phones with IR on it and do that. As far as using that for smart home stuff, I don't think that's really like, just even as a security issue on that. Like if every phone had IR on it and they could control like smart home objects, that leaves like a whole new opening for somebody who like doesn't have your Wi-Fi password or is on your Bluetooth, but able to come into or like go around someone's home and like, yeah, your lights are off, or like
Right.
I'm gonna turn up your thermostat or something.
You've put a lot of thought into this, haven't you, Alfred?
What?
Playing IR pranks.
No, I would never. And that's why they took him off of phones.
Because of Alfred.
All right, next comment's coming in from Yan. Regarding foldable phones, I wonder if you need to fold back the phone when answering a call, or if you answer the call when the phones are fully unfolded. That is something I hadn't really thought about. What did Jessica come up with?
You definitely don't need to do that.
Yeah, I think you could still take the call.
Because like you can take calls on a tablet,
but it's
like,
super weird. 'Cause
Yeah,
you're just holding it like, hello.
but
Hello. I
you
think
know
you
what
put
I
it on
would
speaker mode,
appreciate
right?
though, if you could hang up the phone by folding it shut.
Oh,
That
yeah.
would rule.
Just like those old flip phones.
Yeah.
You could just angrily shut
Yeah,
the phone.
because you can't do that with smartphones
No,
anymore.
you can't angrily push a button and be like,
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
if you have the foldable phones and then you just closed it shut to like hang up.
that would feel pretty good.
And then the
Super
screen
Bowl.
would
Maybe that's
shatter.
a killer app right there.
Next one's coming in from Imagine Sagi. When is Huawei's foldable phone supposed to be hitting the market?
Oh, that got delayed, so indefinitely at this point. So later this year, we don't know when.
What if the real reason for the delays was we got foldable phone technology from like aliens that happen to visit the Earth, like, hey, check this cool stuff out, and then they were gonna push it, and the aliens just told them like, you guys don't deserve this technology, you're not cool enough, and then they left.
Because we're not cool enough?
Yeah,
That
and
would
then
be the
it got like
criteria?
delayed because of that
'Cause
until the aliens
Because the
returned.
aliens withdrew their
Yeah, it's
technology?
UFO day. Just
All right, way
It's
to,
ve-
way to bring it back. I like that.
Full circle.
Full circle indeed.
In terms of external materials, do you see companies using the same materials as, say, Nokia's brick phone that was literally indestructible?
I mean, no.
yeah, because that can't fold.
Yeah.
It was indestructible because it was
But
not flexible.
It was pretty indestructible. It was pretty amazing. Those old phones, the old Blackberries, those things were tanks. No, we probably won't see that stuff. I mean, we're using metal, glass. In the case of foldable phones, those screens are plastic right now because we can't get glass to fold yet, and so that's part of the issue. The plastic screens are super easily scratchable. So I think that's one of the big issues is durability. Like if I paid $2,000 plus for one of these things, I don't know, I'd be freaked out about it.
Touche. Any news on the foldable razor?
No news yet. I did report back in February that this would launch in the summer. At least according to my sources, that still seems to be the case. Although at this point it's probably later in the summer. But presumably, yes. I think that's going to be a thing, but we'll have to see what Motorola does.
That foldable phone is actually a good example of what I actually want to see in foldable phones, where it's not making it bigger, it's making it
making it
smaller.
smaller,
That
yeah.
makes so much more sense.
Yep,
Because
totally.
people want small phones, but they also want like a large screen to watch stuff. That like makes it way easier.
Yep.
Like you don't need to go bigger. Like have a big phone that folds into a smaller one.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I took a meeting with TCL, the television maker, and they make Alcatel phones as well.
Foldable TV.
They had no foldable TVs yet, but they had a number of prototype phones, and a lot of them were what you said, devices that were kind of decently sized, and then they folded into something smaller.
Yeah, that makes so much more sense. Just do that. It might be harder, like because you have less surface
Because
area
less
to
surface
work
area,
with.
for sure.
Do you think there will be a small 4x4 viewfinder on the back of the phone for the back camera? Front camera selfies have a viewfinder. Why not the back?
For the foldable phone?
I'm thinking this might be in favor of the 10.
Yeah, it sounds like a Note 10 thing.
Oh, got it. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's not that many details about the Note 10 stuff, but they did focus on the camera for their the press invite.
Yes.
Where they made it look like an exclamation mark. It was like the stylus and then like the camera lens, and it didn't look like one of those viewfinder kind of like lenses.
Right.
Strinjoy, piggybacking on Storm King's question about the foldable Razr, wants to know if Lenovo's foldable laptop is a precursor to the foldable Razr, since Motorola is owned by Lenovo. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Lenovo bought Motorola from Google a few years back. But I imagine they're working kind of independently. I've noticed from my interactions with both companies, Lenovo and Motorola tend to operate fairly independently of each other. Motorola is kind of focused on phones. Lenovo's focused on laptops. I think they do have some phones, but they've mostly left that to Motorola. So my guess is they're probably being developed in parallel. And because of the size difference, there are a lot of different concerns for each one. So I don't know if like what Motorola figures out on the phone necessarily can be applied to what Lenovo uses on their laptop, and vice versa. But I imagine they're sharing resources in terms of like the display and some of the technology behind it. But I don't know if one is the precursor to another.
Yan mentions how LG showcased the rollable TV at CES and wonders if there's going to be a rollable phone in the near future. We've joked about this time and time again. Here ye, the scroll phone.
The scroll phone, I love that thing.
Yeah, that would be much better. It'd be a lot more compact, but
Like
would you be able to use it while it's scrolled up? Like you're reading it like this?
Yeah, like this. It's like a scroll, so it's kind of like a long column, and then you unfold it.
It just displays like a ticker or something.
Was that scrollable TV even a real thing? Like I know that they showed
it is a real thing.
but like I've never seen it in a store after that.
I think it was this particular one. I don't know if it's already launched. We need to have Katzmeyer on the show to talk about this. But that one was the one we saw at CES this year was supposed to go on sale. But it's probably on sale like some random boutique store for like the super rich.
That's why I'm like always really skeptical of all the tech that comes out of CES. Most of the times it seems just like we made this really cool thing and you can't have it, but write about it as if it is going to be out there.
That said, I mean, what you're seeing at CES is a preview of things ultimately you'll probably see in a few years.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's kind of a preview. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's sort of an inkling as to what TVs will look like in the coming years.
Here's a dense.
TVs are really guilty of that, for sure.
Very true. Here's a dense one to chew on from Commander Trium. All right, I'm going to try to get this right. Neurological interfaces will be introduced to phones soon, in my humble opinion. MIT Research has a test device, and it sure does look like it works. It reads brain waves, but imagine what you could do with implanted cybernetic tech. Do you think neural interface phones will be on their way soon, so you don't need to type on keys or anything anymore? It's all just...
Yeah, define soon.
Alfred, you're our neurological expert.
Define soon.
I would say no on the soon part. I would say that's probably something that will come along at some point, but soon is
your prefrontal cortex is not like equipped yet to deal with 5G waves coming into your amygdala. So the human brain hasn't evolved that much yet, but
that's 6G, dude.
Yeah, so there is research coming from my own institute that
the Alfred Institute of BS
has been looking into a lot of the cranial expansion and the holy convergence from the winter solstice.
Got it.
So
yeah.
No, but to be like serious though, I don't think that'll be here within the next like 20 years.
Yeah.
Just like on regulation issues alone, like people
Yeah.
still think 5G like affects
Could
you.
kill us.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And so that's it. I mean, look, there are instances of biohacking.
Yes.
Folks do implant things in them, like
people put
Bluetooth
RFID
connected.
chips into
Exactly.
their hands to like pay for stuff
so
easier.
that is a thing in terms of actually like accessing your brain. That's still sci-fi.
I think
stuff.
you'll be closer to something that's more of a wearable phone, like a watch or like the Google Glass type of thing that it like makes it feel as if it's a part of your body, but not something that like actually reads off of brain waves like immediately.
Yeah.
Like that's closer in the next 20 years. If you're saying soon within the next 100 years, sure, I'll give you that.
Woof. That is a unique concept to really wrap my brain around. But you say it's far down the line. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. But they are actually considering this as a field.
I'm sure.
I mean, there's researchers looking into it.
Researchers working on it.
I had no idea that was anything more than just pure science fiction.
No. I'm sure if you look it up, you could find folks who are legitimately studying the applications here. Like I said, it's definitely in the research stage. I can't imagine a lot of stuff happening anytime soon. As our
Dr.
Viewer
Otto
says.
Octavius has been using brainwaves to control arms.
right mechanical arms, but only 6 arms at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
4.
4? Sorry, you're right. The other limbs are the 4 arms.
Octopus.
Got it. I can't count.
You should
I'm
look. You should
sorry.
look into his work though. He's really a pioneer in this field.
Oh yeah. Yep.
All right. Before we move on to DNA talk, Michael Brown wants to know, Alfred, what is your hat?
It's Supreme.
That was anticlimactic.
I don't know what you want me to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk DNA tech. And first, right out the gate from Timothy Dew, here's a point of concern. When it comes to this DNA data, could the government or local officials subpoena and obtain this DNA record?
Yes. And in some cases, they don't even have to subpoena it because these companies cooperate with police. In one of those scenarios where they don't say you need to get a warrant, they'll just say, yeah, here you go. Again, very cool thing for a company to do that does not violate anyone's privacy or any concerns. They should get a warrant for it, but they don't have to if they just choose to cooperate with them, which a lot of these companies do because that's their entire purpose.
Right.
Next one's from Jay from Jersey. When do you think we could see digital ID cards and passports here in America like they're starting to release overseas?
Yeah, so they have that in a lot of other countries. The UN kind of highlighted this during the Syrian refugee crisis because they were, leaving to new countries and they couldn't grab their IDs in time, or many of them just didn't have IDs. So when you're at another country's border, how do you tell them, I'm like a refugee from this country, I'm this years old, I'm qualified to do these things. So there's been a push for a digital ID. In underdeveloped countries, but there are also security concerns with it. So India has their system called Aadhaar, where they've always made these claims about how it can't be hacked, and time again, there have been security breaches from Aadhaar in India. And so there's definitely a lot of security flaws surrounding that, but if it is worked around, or if they figure out a way to completely keep it, safe from hackers or anything like that, then it definitely provides a lot of benefits for people. As far as the U.S. goes, it might be pretty difficult. I mean, think about how right now, like driver's licenses, they're still trying to phase that out for like as
Digital
passports.
version?
Well, no, just like as passports.
yeah,
like
yeah.
you have to get like an enhanced or like a
You need to
different
get-
kind of driver's license now
For passports?
to go on flights like
No,
domestically.
you can actually get an enhanced version of the. Oh, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. Sorry, you
like-
can't get a low. They won't just take your state driver's license.
There's a
anymore.
standard
Yeah.
driver's
But, like,
license you
that
can get,
took,
but the
like-
enhanced one is what lets you go
Yes.
fly
Yeah,
in
yeah.
between states.
But
I
that took
got
like
caught in
5
that.
years to.
Right.
They said we're doing this, but it's gonna like roll out in the next like 5-7 years or something like that. Like things like that take a really long time, and to phase that out completely, it's gonna be a while. Like Apple Pay and Google Pay is like much more convenient now, but we're still using
Credit cards and
like cash.
Yeah,
Like we're still
yeah.
using cash. And the other issues like there's security flaws with like credit cards that have the magnetic strip, so they introduce the PIN, right? think about how many places still just use the swipe.
Right.
Like, technology takes a really long time to keep up, especially when you're on a major scale like this. So, yes, digital IDs would be much more convenient in the U.S. Getting people to change that is going to take a very long time.
I mean, keep in mind though, there are 4 states and Washington D.C. that are piloting a version of digital driver's license, right?
Yeah.
And so, or one that you can have on your phone. There are always going to be concerns about that, though, that you're leaving folks behind who don't necessarily
Yeah.
have a smartphone, who can't access that digital driver's license. So, hence the same
Yeah.
concern we have with like
Cashless stores, yeah.
Yep. But it's happening. It's just happening very, very slowly.
Commander Trium is on fire today. Would like some thoughts on medical diagnostics included as part of cell phone tech. We see a little bit of that in the smartwatches with the heart monitors and such, but he's asking about something that would maybe monitor something a little deeper thread. Pure medical status. Are you fit? Do you have cancer? Kind of like a Star Trek tricorder, he cites.
I mean, yeah, I think we'd love for a lot of that stuff, but the fact of the matter is it takes a lot of time. And those kind of sensors some of those are highly specialized,
Yeah.
like cancer detection. I mean, I don't think you can't just slap that.
That,
on
and there are a
watch.
lot of bogus apps out there that claim to do these things
Mm-hmm.
that, people that in, certain like medical situations are desperate for it, and like they can't pay for like a CAT scan, and they think
Right.
that this app will do that for them, and it'll
Which it
might
will not.
falsely diagnose them. I mean, think about how hard it was for like Theranos to, come up with something, and that wasn't even on a phone. That was like
just a blood test.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on top of that, just the issues with like privacy concerns. So most of these medical apps are not like, because they're not an actual clinic or a doctor or something like that, they are not compliant with like privacy laws on like health. So, some of them, like I know with like pregnancy tracking apps, they openly share that information with marketers. There was like the infamous story about how a Target informed a woman's family of her pregnancy before like she even like told them,
Oh, really?
because they had all this data on her through like apps and stuff like
Were
that.
there like
and
offers for like
yeah,
baby milk or whatever
yeah.
formula?
So that's another concern that comes with
Ew.
like health apps.
I will say, just in general, it's rather difficult to get, if you want to kind of follow the regulations and get FDA approval, just look at Apple, right? It was a huge deal that they were able to get, some level of FDA clearance for their heart rate monitor on the watch. And that was a conditional approval, right?
Yeah.
That's not like a full thing. And I think to push forward, it's going to take a lot more time, a lot more resources. It's something that most companies don't have a lot of.
All right, we are just about out of time. Let's take a couple more quickies from Stephen Fong. Most of Asia is using QR codes for almost everything these days. When will the U.S. start using this tech regularly? I'm tired of carrying my wallet. Same, fam. I know near us, the train station, the subway station, is starting to implement the phone scan option instead of having to carry a physical card. I think that's a step in the right direction. What else do we see coming down?
In terms of what, mobile payments? Or?
Yeah, I don't think those are QR codes.
No,
I mean,
but I'm saying it's kind of in a similar vein, similar mindset
Like
of trying to
NFC.
consolidate.
Yeah, you're talking about just mobile payments in general. I mean, yeah, I'd just like to see a broader adoption of that. I think, yeah, it's a good sign that the New York subways are starting to take Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and all that. But there, as Alfred mentioned before, there's still a lot of stores that require you to swipe a credit card or use cash, right?
And that's generally like, obviously like cities will definitely adopt that first. But think about all the rural areas like in the U.S. Like America is like a big country, and there's a lot of it that like doesn't even have like basic like internet connection.
Yep.
Just like by virtue of telecom providers. So yeah, I don't really see that like going that far. I mean, like I would say it's the same thing for China. China is also massive, and I would imagine that the farmers in like rural China are not using like WeChat to pay for stuff there.
Right.
All right, and last one going out the door from Michael Brown. Where do we think Apple is on their foldable device?
Well, probably delayed a lot more now that Johnny Ive is gone.
Although I don't know, Johnny, I really love the aluminum, and the aluminum doesn't work so well with foldable phones. So I don't know. Maybe this is a good thing. We'll see.
We will see. Another great one to just chew on. I don't know if we really have an answer for this right this second, but I'm going to think about this after the show. Storm King says, implantable tech. How do you conduct repairs or upgrades? Sounds like an entire new field, a job space for a doctor/mechanic.
I mean, I imagine it's the same way that they would do it for like connected pacemakers.
Or hearing aids. They're
Yeah.
embedded cochlear implants. They,
Oh yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point.
they do. I mean, they do maintenance on those. So
Yeah, a lot of those can be like over the air, like patches or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. If it's a fatal security flaw though, that like you need the hardware on, that might
then
be a little bit more difficult.
That's a little bit trickier for sure.
And see the surgery scene from Terminator 2 all over again. That's it. We're out of time. Yeah, sorry. I leave that image in your head on the way out the door. We'll be back tomorrow, and then we are off Thursday, Friday because Colonial Treason Day. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Roger.
Bye. 359 is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Feedburner, the Amazon Alexa, of course, CNET.com. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Hey, 359 fans, we have an announcement to make.
We're moving.
But not so fast, don't worry. This won't be a huge change. We're just going to our own channel.
That's right. YouTube is a weird place, and while we are and always will be part of CNET, we are departing the official channel, so it will be easier for you to find.
We're doing a bit of a rebrand while we're at it. We're still the same old awkward 359 at our core, but stay tuned. We're gonna work on some new segments, some new elements to make the show a little more polished.
All the same, we hope you'll join us over on the new channel, where we'll still be streaming on YouTube on the same Monday to Thursday schedule, same start time, dropping the same 4 minutes worth of headlines and taking your questions for the same Q&A. So come find us and spread the word if you like our interactive tech news show. And if you don't,
Why are you here?
Smash that like button. Like and subscribe. Wrong camera. Be sure to leave a 10 thumbs up, 50 thumbs up. I don't know how many thumbs you can leave, but give them all to me.